She never planned on making it a solo album, but when Chrissie Hynde couldn't convince Björn Yttling, Jakey Hynde, and the rest of her crew to join her, the path became hers alone. In the fierce and chaotic world of punk rock, few voices could slice through the noise quite like Chrissie Hynde, the Ohio-born frontwoman of the Pretenders. She wasn't just another woman in rock, she was a storm, a trailblazer who proved that female musicians could be every bit as intense, raw, and unflinching as their male peers. Hynde was known not only for her razor-sharp lyrics and snarling performances, but also for her legendary temper, brutal honesty, and impossibly high standards. Behind the leather jackets and the biting vocals was a perfectionist, someone who held deep contempt for phonies, sellouts, and anyone she believed had betrayed the true meaning of punk rock. Chrissie once said, "What's that mimicry? It's karaoke really, isn't it?" To her, much of what passed as rebellion in the 1980s was nothing but corporate-sponsored authenticity. Rebellion sold as a product. She loved the underground spirit of rock, the gritty heart of it, and she hated how mainstream fame had polished its edges. "The bands I loved," she once said, "were never made for stadiums. They were for the underground, for people who didn't need everyone to know." Welcome to another explosive episode of Offstage Tales, where we reveal the unfiltered truths behind rock's most uncompromising icons. Today, we're diving into the 5 bands that reportedly made Chrissie Hynde's blood boil. From New York to London, these weren't just musical disagreements. They were philosophical wars over what punk rock truly meant before the corporate machine swallowed it whole. 5. Blondie at number 5. A shocker for anyone familiar with the CBGB scene. Blondie, fronted by the charismatic Debbie Harry. Blondie started as punk pioneers, but soon crossed into new wave and pop superstardom. To Chrissie Hynde, that shift was the ultimate betrayal. The tension began in the late 1970s, when the Pretenders and Blondie were both rising from the same underground New York circuit. But while Hynde clung to raw, unfiltered punk ideals, Blondie was evolving and thriving. With a slick, radio-friendly sound, according to punk historian Les McNeil, Hynde once told fellow musicians at Max's Kansas City, "Debbie and the boys turned punk into a costume party for people afraid of real rebellion. They've taken everything dangerous about our scene and made it safe for radio." What enraged Chrissie most was how Blondie transformed from gritty punk outsiders into polished pop icons. To her, this was punk for people who don't want to get their hands dirty. At a 1979 industry party, Hynde allegedly confronted Debbie Harry about the band's disco-inspired direction. Witnesses recall Chrissie making sharp comments about selling out the scene that made you, before storming out of the event entirely. For Hynde, this wasn't just about musical taste. It was about punk soul. Blondie represented everything she despised: the commercialization of rebellion, the transformation of real danger into something safe and sellable. Blondie had committed, in her eyes, the ultimate punk sin, making rebellion profitable and rebellion safe. 4. The Go-Go's landing at number 4, one of the most infamous female-on-female feuds in rock history. The Go-Go's, the all-female band from Los Angeles, had started as genuine punk rockers, but soon became mainstream sensations. To Chrissie Hynde, their transformation was a painful symbol of how the industry twisted female representation in music. According to journalist Christine McKenna, Hynde once told reporters, "The Go-Go's are setting women in rock back 10 years. They're playing into every stereotype, giggling through interviews, talking about shopping and boys. Real women rockers don't do that." What truly infuriated her was how the Go-Go's turned from punk rebels into pop sweethearts. While Hynde fought every inch to be respected as a serious songwriter and musician, the Go-Go's embraced upbeat, carefree anthems that prioritized fun over substance. She reportedly called it sorority house rock. Things came to a head at a 1982 awards show, when the Go-Go's were celebrated for their massive commercial success. Witnesses claim Hynde looked visibly disgusted as Belinda Carlisle joked about their fame, muttering to her bandmates, "They're making us look like we're just playing dress-up instead of making real music." For Chrissie, it wasn't jealousy, it was a matter of principle. The Go-Go's represented the watered-down version of female empowerment, turning genuine feminist rebellion into marketable girl power that never truly challenged the system. 3. Duran Duran sliding into number 3. The stylish kings of the new romantic movement. Duran Duran. To Chrissie Hynde, they were the very embodiment of what had gone wrong with rock in the 1980s, the triumph of style over substance. According to journalist Paul Morley, Hynde once told NME writers, "Duran Duran are everything that's wrong with music becoming visual. Pretty boys think looking good in a video makes them musicians. Real rock and roll comes from the streets, not a fashion photographer's studio." While Chrissie had fought her way from the working-class neighborhoods of Ohio through the grimy punk clubs of London, Duran Duran was conquering MTV with high-budget videos and designer clothes. She called it art school posturing. At the 1983 British Music Awards, Duran Duran swept the nominations. During her acceptance speech, Hynde reportedly jabbed at manufactured bands who confuse marketing with music, while the cameras cut to Duran Duran's table, visibly uncomfortable. To Hynde, they symbolized the death of authenticity. They weren't rebels. They were rebellion for people who never had anything to rebel against. 2. Culture Club at number 2, the glittering clash between authentic rebellion and performance art. Culture Club, fronted by the flamboyant Boy George, the band became global icons for their colorful image and gender-bending style. But to Chrissie Hynde, it all felt like a corporate show, rebellion turned into theater. According to music journalist John Savage, Hynde once told punk fanzine writers, "Boy George has turned being an outsider into a marketing gimmick. Real gender rebels don't perform for applause, they live it despite the consequences." To her, Culture Club had transformed genuine self-expression into safe rebellion, an aesthetic designed to titillate, not to challenge. In 1983, at a London recording studio, Chrissie reportedly confronted Boy George face-to-face, saying, "You've taken everything dangerous about being different and turned it into a bloody pantomime for suburban kids who want to feel edgy without risking anything." She accused him of turning authentic struggle into commercial theater, what she allegedly called drag queen capitalism. For Chrissie, it wasn't about gender or image, it was about truth. She saw Culture Club as a symbol of how the music industry could turn even real rebellion into a product. 1. The Sex Pistols, and finally, at number 1, the band that shattered her faith in punk itself, the Sex Pistols. The so-called anarchic heroes of British punk were, in Chrissie's eyes, nothing more than a marketing creation. According to punk historian John Savage, she once told fellow musicians at the Roxy Club in 1976, "The Pistols aren't a band, they're a bloody marketing experiment. Malcolm's created fake punks to sell real punk back to us as a product." Her anger was personal and ideological, while she was fighting to build a real underground movement, driven by working-class anger and artistic truth. The Sex Pistols were being packaged for profit by Malcolm McLaren, a fashion entrepreneur. She called their rise corporate anarchy. To her, their fame wasn't rebellion, it was manipulation. When the Pistols made their notorious TV appearances, Chrissie refused to share a stage with them, allegedly telling promoters, "I don't share stages with actors pretending to be revolutionaries." For Hynde, the Pistols represented the ultimate corruption, proof that even the rawest art could be turned into business. They'd taken punk's rebellion and turned it into a business plan. That, to Chrissie Hynde, was the death of everything punk stood for.
Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon.